Thanks again for joining. Today's session's about Infinitive, one of our valued app partners, and Onshape, talking about configuration without limits, how you can extend Onshape's capabilities with Infinitive and really go beyond a classic configurator. And I'm really excited for Peter to run everyone through what those functionalities look like. I want to take a minute to just introduce myself. My name is Dan Kane. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Onshape and PTC, and I work with all of our valued App Store partners like Pete and like Infinitive. I am somewhat new to this role, and Onshape is really taking a renewed focus in our technology partners, right? We really want to make sure that all types of technologies, all types of use cases are covered by really sound technology partners that are going to provide value beyond just the CAD and PDM within Onshape. As someone who's new to this role, I do value everyone's feedback. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any requests or feedback on the general App Store experience. So wanted to jump in with that. But with that, I want to kick it over to Pete. Pete is a valued partner, been in the Onshape ecosystem for a long time, and I'm really excited for him to show all of you what they've been working on with Infinitive.
Thank you, Dan, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. So I am going to introduce to you who I am, what the problem is that Infinitive solves, and then some real use cases of Infinitive configurators. I'll then tell you a bit about how we got here, and I'll show you the seamless integration that we've got between Onshape and Infinitive. I look forward to some questions at the end as well. So firstly, a bit about me. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been developing tools and techniques for engineers to use for the last 25 years, including in multiple startups. And a fun fact, if you're a fan of Formula One, I was part of the team that is the subject of Keanu Reeves's documentary, Brawn, the Impossible Formula One Story. And if you haven't seen it, you should see it because it's a great story about engineering in sport. So what is the problem that we set out to solve? So the stories that we hear from manufacturers are different, but they have the same underlying cause. If you offer a product that has high variation, it's not scalable because it needs the technical team to be involved in sales. Customers of ours were spending £1,000 on each design that they did for an individual customer use case, even if they didn't get to sell it. We've recently even met an interior design company who are spending £80,000 per proposal that they do. Or if they've got to the point of using e-commerce, the complexity holds back their customers from actually making that final decision, or there's a high cost of actually having the core engineers involved in customer support. Or if they've managed to get over those hurdles, they've done it by using a whole raft of different disconnected products. And so they might need a whole range of different products and then have to have expert users be using each of them. So Infinitive aims to bridge all of these gaps. So I'm going to talk through some real world use cases. So we've got a broad range of industries using Infinitive. They all benefit from the ability to assemble unique configurations. And that's ranging from electronics, different scales, to industrial equipment, furniture, construction, even tram tracks. One thing we'd love, maybe in the questions later on, is we'd love the Onshape community to challenge us. Is there a type of product you think might be too complex still for configuration? So I will show you some of these examples now. So this is a configurator for an Internet of Things platform. For a consumer-facing configurator, it's important for us to not give the user a blank screen. They've got to figure out then how to actually use it. So we avoid this by asking them questions at the beginning, which was incredibly quick there, about their requirements. So we gather their requirements and then we can generate the initial design for them that satisfies those requirements. But they've still got complete freedom to choose from the catalog and continue to edit that design, because Infinitive understands all of the compatibility rules between the products that they're selecting. And so that was genuinely that quick to go to purchase from that initial choice. So we show a similar example in the same configurator. We'll make some completely different choices. And we can see that all we're doing here is choosing products that we want. And the software itself is building the assembly, the bill of materials. And because it understands those compatibility rules, it ensures that it's always a valid design. That same problem applies to much higher value electronics. So we can go straight into supercomputers where the choices are similar. They're what CPU, what memory, what motherboard, and so on you need. And in the same way, the system understands what those different compatibility rules are between the different products. And so it gives the manufacturer the confidence that when a customer has chosen something, that they know that that is a manufacturable solution and it's a solution that will solve the customer's actual requirements. So industrial equipment is an area where the traditional CPQ type of configurators are active and often used. But we can see here that Infinitive actually makes it a whole step easier. So your sales team can be empowered to create the real CAD and bill of materials in literally seconds. All that they need to do is select the size of the system or the particular needs that the end customer has. We have the ability to share links as well. So when this is used as an internal sales tool, it's a really quick way of putting together a 3D design that can actually be sent to the customer as a sharing link. So this is another consumer-facing example, and it shows how we've got realistic visualization that is parametric. So the consumer can actually be changing the materials the cabinets are made from and see a realistic visualization of that. They can still carry on editing and building it. It's got the dynamic pricing built in, so they can always see what it's costing as well as what it's looking like. And so you can see it's ideal for furniture applications as well. And then a very similar application to that is when we get into construction. So it's on a larger scale, and this is a good example where the user has complete freedom. So they could build anything from the available kit of parts. It's just like building from Lego. And so in applications like this, Infinitive becomes a lightweight, collaborative design tool. So we can create different designs. We can look at the bill of materials that we're using. We can generate a sharing link that we can send to a customer or a colleague, and so it makes it a very flexible, intuitive tool for the end user. So
if you don't mind, just real quick, I mean, awesome demo there across multiple industries. A few things that really stand out to me that I just want to double tap on. The first is the flexibility and the power, right? I think a lot of people think of configurators as taking these configurations you predefined in a CAD system like Onshape, right? Which obviously gives you a lot of flexibility on configuration options. But this is more than that, right? It seems like people can build things that were never predefined in a CAD system, but just by clicking and choosing. That's pretty incredible.
Exactly, and we've often questioned whether configurator is quite the right word for it. So it is a configurator, but it's going more towards being a design tool from a kit of parts. So it allows your customer to actually design.
That's amazing. The other thing that really stands out is the performance. You know, at least on those first two electronics situations, those are pretty complex geometries being rendered in a pretty photorealistic way that doesn't seem to have a ton of lag. And obviously it was a video, but I don't know if you want to just speak quickly to performance.
So it's a globally scalable cloud application, and also with the performance. So one aspect of that is that we're not having to go back to the actual CAD kernel to regenerate any geometry. It's all being handled dynamically within Infinitive. But we also do quite a lot of reduction of the geometry, and I'm going to come on to that as I show how we import from Onshape in a minute.
Didn't want to disrupt your flow, but just wanted to make those points. Appreciate it, Pete. So
the summary of what we're doing there is we're turning a complex product into a scalable, sellable solution. So they're great to look at those, but they're also products that couldn't really have been sold online without a tool like this. And that impact is measurable as well. So Infinitive was launched early this year, and so we can show then the statistics. So for one configurator, these are the statistics that we're seeing. So firstly, as I say, it's globally scalable. It's accessible on a range of devices and browsers and so on. So we get good usage figures to start with. But secondly, because those users are engaged users, they are using a tool that is answering a question for them before they've even got to buying something. That means we also see good conversion rates in it. So a typical e-commerce conversion rate is 2.5%. We're getting close to 3 times that. But for us, then the most important numbers are the ones on the right, and that's that no engineers or even customer support were involved in any of those sales at all. It is purely self-service coming through the configurator. So this is transformative for these different industries. So one thing we wanted to talk about in this webinar really is how we got here. So the product, as I say, was launched this year, but it's based on quite a long history in this space. So we've been working with Onshape and Onshape customers since 2018 on a range of bespoke solutions, all on the theme of mass customization. And what we've been doing over that time is building up our technology and our understanding in this area, and we've combined those ideas into what is now Infinitive. So what's now available to anyone as a product. So we're here to talk about Onshape. So I'm going to show how easy it is to go from a model in Onshape to a product in Infinitive. So one of the configurators that I showed was the kitchen cabinets one, and that only actually had 3 different types of cabinet in there. It had a cupboard, some drawers, and a right-handed corner cupboard. So really we know that then needs probably a left-handed corner cupboard as well. So I'm going to show how we will actually import and add that into the configurator. We're using this very nice Onshape model, which was done by Eric Schimmelpfennig. So thank you to Eric for sharing that model with us. So this is within the Infinitive platform. We have the ability to link directly into Onshape. So when we go to add a product, we've got the ability to browse through our folder tree in exactly the same way that we would browse through our folder tree in Onshape. So it fits with any Onshape user's understanding. And equally, you can paste in a URL. So that's a really easy way of telling it which model you want. We've picked the version there, so we only import versions. And we've also got the ability to choose parameters, and those parameters will become parameters that the end user can change in the configurator. So I've chosen the particular version and element within Onshape there. And what that's now done is that's created a product within Infinitive. we can see here that there's some asynchronous tasks going on, just like if you were importing something into Onshape. In this case, as we discussed a second ago, we're actually optimizing the geometry for viewing in the browser. So what we've done is we've pulled that Onshape model in, and we've packaged that up and optimized it so that we can make that nice and fast in any of the configurators. So we've got the model in there. We can now edit the general details, the name, the description. We've got the stock keeping unit that links with e-commerce. We can categorize things. There's a whole range of information that we can capture on each product that we put in there. We also need to define how we're going to connect the products together. So when we're in the configurator, what we're doing is we're building an assembly. And so each of the products in there has connectors on. So it's a very similar concept to make connectors in Onshape. So we can see here, I've just duplicated the connectors from the right-handed cabinet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit one of those connectors and put it into the correct position, because it's not quite where I want it on the door there. So by having the connectors in here, these are defining the rules of how we're actually going to assemble things together. We can go as far as editing the exact coordinates of each of those connectors. We can select them from CAD if there's make connectors, or we can just pick a point in the 3D viewer, just like adding a make connector in Onshape. And so that's how we define the connectivity. And then the other thing, looking at this CAD model, it looks very Onshape-like with its blues and oranges. So we probably want to make that a bit more visually appealing. So we will go and pick an appearance. So we've got a library of different appearances, different textures in there, and we can apply those to individual parts or the overall model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the sides and the door, and I'm going to apply a texture onto those to make it look like it's got some oak panels on it. And so straight away that's starting to look a bit more like a cabinet. So I can go in, I can carry on applying more of the textures in there, get those connectors exactly right. I can link it, I can put in the SKU to link it up with e-commerce. And then I want to actually add it to my configurator. So I'll go and edit a configurator. So to us, a configurator combines the set of products that we're actually going to be able to build from in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and tick the additional product, and it's now added a fourth cabinet into my list there. It's done some processing on the back end to understand what the different permutations are going to be within that configurator. And then I've clicked publish to say, okay, I want to update what's published. That's quite an important part of this, is that we version everything. So all of the product data is versioned. The configurator is versioned and uses particular versions of the products. And then we can tell it when to publish. So we've got the ability to edit everything behind the scenes without affecting what customers are seeing, and then publish it so that they see it. And actually, in the same way, if we've used an Onshape model in a product, we can actually then update the version of the Onshape model that we've used and propagate that through. So then the result of that is I can go back to the configurator, and I can now use the left-handed corner cabinet. And so it's a totally seamless flow then from an Onshape model all the way through to seeing that model used in a configurator. And that model has been, as we mentioned, optimized for use in the browser. It is cached in the cloud, so it's all lovely and fast for anyone using it. Now, an important thing to announce today is that this will be appearing on the App Store. So if you go into the Onshape App Store, you'll be able to find Infinitive in there. And we have a login with Onshape options. So as well as it being seamless to pull product data in, it's seamless to go from Onshape straight into Infinitive. So I've come slightly under time there, which leaves us plenty of room for questions, which hopefully I will hand over to Dan.
Yeah, I mean, really great and comprehensive overview, Pete. I think everyone appreciates seeing sort of into the products, the possibilities with some of the use cases, the workflow for getting things set up. One of the things that really stands out to me that I appreciate is the long history you have with Onshape that sort of evolved over time, right? It goes from sort of custom use cases and a lot of customer interactions to then realizing what people broadly are looking for, right? And maybe they don't realize exactly what they're looking for at the time, and that allows you to build something that doesn't really exist anywhere else. And I definitely love that interaction and collaboration.
In fact, it was Onshape who actually first asked us to build a configurator quite some time ago, and you'll find that on Onshape's public GitHub there is an open source configurator example which we developed for Onshape, and yeah, it's something where it was a gradual learning over time. With the more engagements we had, the more we realized that that actually there was this underlying thread that there wasn't a tool that could take these products really to their customers in this way.
That's awesome. We love to work so closely, and there are some questions coming in. I think a lot of it's around actually that integration and that interplay with Onshape. It seems like there's a tight integration around things like versions, configurations. Love to see that. There's one question about Onshape materials and Render Studio appearances, and if there's any ability to pull some of that data in, or some desire in the future to allow that to move downstream.
Not at the moment. So at the moment, we pull in colors and sort of the current appearance colors and opacities, the current sort of appearances within the Onshape model. We pull in, so that's what you would initially see, and then we have our own textures and so on top. Those are very much optimized for the fact that this is a browser-based tool. But yeah, we'd be interested in looking at what would help people if they're already setting those things up in Render Studio.
Yeah, maybe even the material mapping kind of workflow. That's a great thought there from the crowd. So there's some questions about configuration. So one question is, I think these are slightly related, so I'm going to group them. Is it possible for parameters to be changed on the consumer-facing side, i.e. cabinet depth? And then also, how do configurations within an Onshape assembly come into play when building something like this?
So we support all of the configuration, any configuration parameter that is in that Onshape model can actually appear as a parameter within the customer-facing configurator. It's maybe the subject of a deeper, longer presentation, but those can actually also drive the geometry as well within Onshape. So if the model has parametric geometry in it, that can actually be dynamically changing within the configurator. It obviously doesn't have the same performance level as if we're using the same geometry repeatedly, but we optimize that as much as is possible.
Got it. Yeah, so it sounds like particularly configuration variables have the ability to flow downstream, but there are some optimization and performance considerations when doing something like that.
Yeah, and the editing process that I showed with the cabinet one, where we were changing the appearances on it, that editing process is the same for parameters that we've added in Infinitive, such as those, and the parameters that are coming from Onshape. So there's no distinction between the two. So you can still have your customers freely edit some things that will change the Onshape model and some things that have been added on top in Infinitive.
Got it. And I'll address this App Store question. It looks like Sarah already did. This will be live later today. This is on the Onshape side. Pete had all his ducks in a row, so apologies. This will be later today, live in the App Store, and we'll make sure to link to it in a follow-up email here. Interesting question. How much setup is required to get one of these examples up and running smoothly? How does this compare, for example, to similar tools such as DriveWorks for SolidWorks, which requires a lot of coding and upfront time investment?
Yeah, so we don't see this as comparable to something like DriveWorks. I'd view that as a CAD automation tool. This, I mean, what I showed there of pulling a product in and making it go live is genuinely the speed at which we are adding product data to it. There's obviously, when the products are very complex, like the electronic ones, there is obviously some tweaking and learning to make sure that those compatibility rules are correct. But it is I mean, how we work is we help our customers get their first configurator live, but then they've got access to the platform to carry on developing that further. So they can be adding their own products. They can be making updates and changes themselves.
The questions are flying in here, so we're going to get to as many as we can. So I'll keep it moving. What was the most challenging problem you faced when building this? Sort of a back-end question.
That's a good question. So we've got there is a significant amount of technology behind it. I mean, obviously, it is a cloud platform, and certainly anyone in the Onshape team will understand what the scale of effort is to do that. We've actually got the way that we manage configurations. We have a pending patent on that, and the dialogue which actually chooses and generates your design for you is using algorithmic design, the technology that we developed ourselves. So there's a lot of technology behind this tool.
Very interesting. Compatibility with CAM for taking customer built products and then the back end connecting it to CAM software. If so, what CAM software does this support?
So we have connected it all the way to nesting software, so to lay out panels for furniture. We have experience in developing CAM software ourselves, and obviously we well know CAM Studio as well. So there's not currently a direct integration there. We do have an integration platform built into Infinitive that allows us to quite quickly put together integrations with external tools. That's how we work with e-commerce and ERP tools as well. So we can certainly put together custom integrations where that's needed.
It does plug in different ways to various other business systems. Makes sense. The mandatory question about costs. So did I miss the discussion of costs, or is this not a one-size-fits-all pricing?
Nothing is a one-size-fits-all pricing, but it's got so the way that we work is it is a SaaS platform. We have a monthly subscription. That monthly subscription has different tiers that have different features and size to them. And they have also a threshold of sales that we are covering as part of that. So if a subscriber goes above that threshold of sales, they either need to move up or they pay a transaction fee on top. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate growth, and that's what we've shown that we can do, but obviously we then want to share that growth with our customers.
Excellent. So I know we are at the bottom of the hour here. Pete and I can maybe hang on for a few more minutes to keep going through questions, but just want to really thank everyone for joining. We love these types of conversations and discussions. We will send out a follow-up email with a recording. So if you have to drop, you won't miss anything. But thank you everybody for joining. And Pete, are you good to stay on for just a few more minutes here?
Absolutely.
All right. Get to maybe 2 more questions. So any size limitations on configurable Onshape parts and assemblies?
There's a performance factor if you import a very, very large assembly. We do recommend that things are broken down and modularized. We're obviously, what your customer is doing is assembling a set of modules together. The more modularized the product is, the more efficient the configurator is as well, just because of the scale of CAD that's being pulled in.
Makes sense. What is the typical release management workflow of an outputted part or assembly from the configurator?
So when someone makes a configuration, we have all the information on that configuration. So not only what parts were chosen, how they were assembled together, but also the exact versions of them at that point in time. So we've got traceability on for any order that your customer places. We do have traceability on what was the version of the product, and hence what was the version of the CAD at that particular point in time. I don't know if that answers that question, but so we use Onshape versions, as a key part of that.
And maybe the idea being the manufacturability is built into the logic that you built up front. So when someone builds something within that configurator, there maybe doesn't need to be quite as much approval process downstream to be able to ship that product.
The aim is that when we've got a configurator set up, it is set up in such a way that it's only generating valid versions. We are looking at incorporating that into larger workflows for some of our customers. So, for example, in construction use cases, there may actually need to be a structural engineer's report actually on what you've designed. It can't just be built. So, so certainly we'd be interested as well if people have sort of those larger workflows that maybe this could fit within, and it then sends the completed configuration to the next step for some feedback.
Right. Keep that digital thread moving.
Yeah.
I personally am going to have to drop off. There are a lot of questions coming in. We can potentially just follow up with a lot of folks. I apologize if we didn't get to your question. We answered a bunch. It's a great problem to have. But it'd be up to you. What do you think? Do you want to hang on and read these yourself? It's very much up to you.
I'm happy to carry on answering. I'm happy to carry on answering questions for people, or equally, anyone can get in touch as well via our website.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So we'll follow up with some contact information, and we'll try to also get to everyone in the chat who we didn't answer, maybe via email. So Pete, we can coordinate on that. But thank you everyone for joining. Really, really great session, and we hope to do more soon. So have a great day. Thank you, Pete. Great session.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.